Dreaming of owning a property in a prime location with great proximity and fantastic neighborhood? EJ Investments Sanyang Seaview Estate is the best choice you have been waiting for. Our Sanyang Seaview Estate is approximately 15 minutes drive away from the busy hub of Brusubi roundabout and into the heart of nature, where you can have a peaceful and relaxed lifestyle with your family. You can buy a finished 4-bedroom story with 5-year flexible payment plan or a service plot with 2-year payment plan option. With over 300 homes, you will enjoy big tar roads with covered drainage, modern electrification with solar street lights, gated entrance with security post, and a breath-catching experience of our beautiful sea view and lake view. You can own a home today at our Sanyang Seaview Estate. Call us today on 446-4838 or 325-9220. Visit our website on ejinvestments.net. EJ Investments, first in property.
It's another beautiful Saturday, and this is the brunch here on Fatou with me, Joy Wama. And of course, I'm not alone in the studio. On my immediate right, I have Mr. Lamin Cham, who's from the Standard newspaper, and our very own Mustafa K. Dabo will be taking us through out the whole program today. Mr. Lamin Cham, it's been an eventful week, I want to believe. And I know there have been a lot of stories that will be enclosed here today. Tell us more.
All right, welcome to all our viewers around the world. Yes, Joy, as you said, yes, it was quite a week full of events. That is, first, it was our 54th independence anniversary, and President Barrow has used the occasion to call on Gambians to exercise patience. Well, another man who said he will not be too old to be president is, of course, Ousainou Darboe. He said, even at the age of 73, he would be proud to lead the country. He said that. And we also have startling and chilling revelations from the TRRC as witnesses continue to appear. We will discuss that. It has been covered very well. The visit, of course, from President Madabio, if you care about Sierra Leone news and other events, are all in the newspaper. This and more. Joy.
Thank you very much. I would like you to take us through the 54th independence. Of course, it's the day that we felt we were liberated and became an independent state. So, that being said, what happened during the independence celebration?
Well, I think we will dwell more on what President Barrow had to say. He said people must exercise patience and wait because his government is committed to developing the country. Now, this is not just any other message, Steiner, because you could see from his speech that he had a feeling that people are quite really rating his government's performance over the last 2 years with a very low grade. And he wants, very keen to show the people that his government is still focused and they will deliver the promise, but the time is too limited for anybody to judge him. And then he used a national occasion like that, not a political platform this time, because you know in the days and weeks leading up to the independence, he was on political platform, if you like, meetings that are happening at State House, trying vigorously to put his message across and to say that he felt that Gambian people are with him. This was a national occasion, and he used the occasion to call for national unity, everybody to work for the country and put politics aside and concentrate on his agenda to develop the country. And he asked for patience. Do you think he is justified in asking for patience after 2 years or so from what he has achieved? You think he's right that people are really expectations are really too high for the time he's just spent in office.
Yeah, I mean, I think so too. When Barrow came to power, Gambia was facing considerable number of challenges. So if he indeed asked for patience from Gambians, I think that's right. Of course, Barrow can't change the country within a one-year term, one term. No one expects that. But also, I mean, much less 2 years. When he came to power, we all were here. We realized what the debt to GDP ratio was. We know how much of public resources have been squandered. Yes. We've seen the Jani Commission. We've seen how much money had been lost that could have been in public purse. But where I think he's not justified is where his own actions towards addressing the problems comes. So one thing, no one expects Barrow to change. I mean, no one reasonable would expect him to change the country within this very short period of time.
Yeah.
But also every reasonable person expects to see him on the pathway that leads to the changing of these problems. In other words, everyone expects him to come up with a solution.
Okay, well, and his actions, you believe his actions so far haven't shown that he is totally committed, as he said?
In some ways, he has proven able, but in so many ways more than he has proven. He has proven he is incapable. Well, I mean, in so many other ways too. So he has done some good things. He has come up with some good projects. I mean, he has also, let's put in, bear in mind that he has come at a time when the international goodwill towards the Gambia has been enormous. Even the diplomats were saying this is a great time for the Gambia. If you look at the goodwill at the time on the Gambia and how much Barrow is able to do within that period of time, I would rate him below fair.
Do you think
it's a fair?
Can you also understand in his calls for patience and patriotism? Do you think he's getting a feeling that a lot of Gambians who would have contributed immensely are perhaps folding their hands or no longer impressed with the way he conducts himself or his government conducts himself towards the targets set by him?
Look, I don't agree with Barrow in some ways, but I agree with him in another way. You see, I am not an anarchist, but you see, there is something that Muammar Gaddafi said. He said sometimes partisan politics reduce.
You too read the Green Book?
Oh, of course I do. Everyone reads the Green Book.
Okay.
It's an incredible book. Gaddafi may be a dictator, but he's a revolutionary. He has some ideas. And one thing he has said about partisan politics is that sometimes it brings the country becomes a victim of unnecessary push and pull, even when important national issues are there to be addressed. Sometimes, I mean, this is the downside of the multi-party democracy. So if you look at what we have gone through, I mean, Gambian politicians and political parties have very little difference, very little. Now, so you could see that there is incredible number of time and opportunity for everybody to come together and focus on some issues of national importance. Now, if you see what Barrow has done himself, in terms of Barrow has been himself very divisive. He hasn't helped in stitching
people together.
I mean, even though he claims he is this guy who is
so people are just
convergent point, but in practice he is not.
People are then justified if they just fold their hands down and look at him and
say, well, let him do it.
Let him do it, since he claimed that he can do it.
Yeah, so you see...
So perhaps he realized this, that's why he wants, what he may be calling patriotism, wanting people to be patriotic. He probably means that he wants people to not just to look at him, but just work for the interests of the country and forget about him or any inadequacies or misgivings people may have about him.
Yeah, so but the interest of the country may not be the interest of Barrow. That's one way of, that's one danger in defining patriotism based on loyalty to the presidency.
Yes.
Because one may be loyal to the country without necessarily be loyal to the president if the president is not in the right path. So this is the problem. When the president's actions or inaction suggest he is not supporting national interest, it becomes a moral obligation for every patriotic individual to not back the commander-in-chief.
Now, the issue now, in his speech and in most people's analysis, the 54 years of nationhood today, from Jawara Jammeh, Barrow, do you think the nation deserves better than where we are? Well, for me, if you ask me, I'll say, well, 54 years is fairly long in the life of a country for one to still be grappling with the basic problems we are grappling with in many areas. I would think so, because we still don't have the best of health services. We don't have the best of education. We still have infrastructures to build, the basic ones, after 54 years and 3 successive governments. Who are you to blame?
Well,
ourselves?
Ourselves, and also
the founding government, the government of Jawara,
I disagree. I think from...
Well, let me before you go, let me think of what I thought of Jawara. I thought Jawara came building a nation. He can be excused for the country to have stumbled in the years immediately after independence. But I think beyond 1980 upwards, well, he missed out on an opportunity to create a yes.
But
and that's due to a very.
I'm sure you read Kairaba.
I did. He tried a lot to.
I'm sure you read Kairaba.
Yes, I did.
Based on what we are seeing before the commission, I think Jawara is justified in so many ways. You see?
Yeah, no, but there are some things you can understand. Others, like rampant corruption, you cannot excuse. In fact, we are becoming to, even the TRRC is showing some of those things that not connected, but you can see what was happening. Like Jawara himself generally seemed to be very honest and caring.
Yeah.
But he was surrounded by people he thought, because of their education or ability, could deliver. But we have seen that a lot of them have even torn the state's assets to be theirs. When somebody is made managing director in the days 1970s and 80s, that person serves as a lord and owner of that place.
So, but you will see also.
So now, because that was happening, I think the First Republic missed out on a score that would have been very impressive at the time they were kicked out of power.
Absolutely.
So, well, that's Jawara, okay? Well, for Jammeh, of course, I mean, everybody knew that that was a disaster.
Yeah.
Because even though you can credit Jammeh's regime for opening up places that were lying, you know, you can credit him with good infrastructural or high schools and hospitals, you could say. But then, in my experience, man's life is his most precious possession, not his good road, or not his new road or new hospital. And as far as when it comes to treatment of life and things, Jammeh was a non-starter in that one. He was a destructive figure in that. But then, having said that, you could also argue that the amount of money that Jammeh had at his disposal, even though he came under sanctions and was snubbed by many would-be donors, he was able to raise a lot of money. If the revelations at the Janneh Commission are anything to go by. But then if you look at the monies that have been squandered, that have been misused, misappropriated, you would argue again that if perhaps Jawara, with all his naivety, had that money at his disposal, he probably would have done better than even Jammeh. That is, of course, if his corrupt officials
maybe we
are not going to feast on them.
So my default setting is that I am pro Jawara.
Ah,
I was brought
no, you don't have to be
in an anti. In an anti-PP. I was
somebody who's
NCP setting.
Yeah, but somebody who.
But the truth is that let's be fair to Jawara. The old man had grown suspicious of people around him.
Yeah.
And at some point, Kasama, who appeared before the commission,
his
said
yes,
that he was even trying. They were trying to negotiate to bring back Sirif Diba. To
PPP, yes.
At the time, Jawara was planning a succession.
Yes.
That is because clearly he did not trust people around him. And it turns out, as the commission events unfolded before the commission, turns out his suspicions are proven right.
Yes.
These are not people you can entrust with state power.
No,
I mean, so if you look at his succession plan, I think he was trapped in a wall where he's surrounded by wolves.
Yeah, but
and he wanted to reach out to people outside that clique, and unfortunately it coincided with the coup.
No, but,
So,
but how would you, when it happened, it was in December 1991 at the Mansakonko National Conference.
It 1992?
No, it was 91, because actually the election is 92, but the conference always happened months before the election. So this very conference they're talking about was in December 1991 in Mansakonko, where Jawara declared all of a sudden, out of the blue, that he does not want to be the party's candidate for the 1992 election. It was time for him to go. Now this has really thrown the whole PPP, leadership into a big, big confusion, because Jawara had not groomed anybody to succeed him. All right? But when it happened, the PPP were divided.
Yes.
Even at that very conference, there were people in his cabinet who said, well, yes, if he would decide to go, he can go. Then there are others who said, well, no, Sadawda cannot go. And in between that, people were able to define lines, and they started fighting one another.
That's where the problem started.
But Jawara didn't help the situation too, because immediately after the elections, in April 92, he formed his cabinet in May, the following month, and he brought a lot of surprises. People who were thought to be not credible, people who were thought to have their characters or image stained, he brought them and made them even more powerful. So that is what absolutely lead to a lot of disenchantment and disillusionment, a lot of criticism within the PPP. So you definitely cannot exonerate Jawara from blame by giving power to people who in the people's eye don't deserve to be even in his government because of records of allegations of corruption which have been proven in court and etc. etc.
I agree.
So there you go.
I agree in that. I'm just saying, in terms of how far we've gone, we could have done better, of course, we all know. But a lot of things had also happened that are good things, positive things in the life of this country. 54, we are not at a stage where, starting from a point of improbable to this point.
Yes.
I think we've gone a long way, we've come a long way. And I think if you look at the opportunity that presents itself to us now, I think we are best positioned to be probably one of the most developed, if not the most developed country in Africa. So
if we couldn't do it in 54 years, how do we guarantee?
We can. We've done a lot of things in 54 years. When we were going to independence, there was no money, currency, there was no ports, there was no British, there was nothing.
Yeah.
We built a country from nothing.
From scratch.
And we are here today talking about a nation state and talking about all these institutions. So we can do something better. We can be better than all the countries. And at some point, I understood even the per capita income ranking, we were better than Senegal.
Yes, but what happened?
Yeah, but now they are better than us.
Far better than us.
So we can do something.
And with our size and minimum and population, you could have said that we could have achieved a lot of things that bigger countries couldn't have.
Yeah.
But we blew all the opportunities, both under Jawara and Jammeh.
Yeah.
And now, to some extent, Barrow is, well, critics would say, is going off track. So who do you guarantee? We didn't have the proper leadership. Would you say?
I think we need the rise of we need a revolution in this country.
Why, if you said, I would say you want people to take up arms.
Well, not by arms.
Not that.
We need a change of mindset in this country from top to bottom.
Okay.
We need people who, I mean, if you go walk around and give an ordinary Gambian an opportunity to choose between an American passport and a Gambian passport, the chances are that he would pick up an American passport. And we need people who would rather pick up the Gambian passport.
That's what we need.
That's the kind of citizenship you need, because every country
needs a
mobilized citizenry, a citizenry indoctrinated with ideas.
But you know,
this country can and must be.
But you have
this country can and must be developed.
But
that's the only.
But
way
all those things have
that's
to be.
That's how all other countries are developed.
But all those things have to be inspired by a leadership.
By the leadership, of course.
That's the problem.
And policy directions matters.
Yes.
Not the kind of leadership that is caged. And it's citizens only. It's an opportunity or a privilege to even see the president. In that kind of a situation, of course.
That's the problem. So at 54, well, how will you grade the Gambia?
I think we've done good.
At 54%, maybe.
Well, no. 54% would be too much. But I think 40, 42, I think we are good. I think we can still do better.
Well, one man who said he probably can provide better leadership is the old man.
My uncle.
Yes.
Well, why do you say yes to that?
Well, because you have got Davos, so maybe it's okay. Well, Davos was addressing a rally in Bakoda. He said, come on, he is not too old. He wouldn't be too old at 73 if he's given, if the opportunity provides itself. He said he wouldn't consider himself too old and he'll be proud to lead the nation. The message is telling, and because it tells me first that he still believes, unlike other partners of the coalition, that
he can be the president.
No, that Barrow should stay for 5 years.
Yes.
And if he said if Mandela and others could come, Abdoulaye Wade, etc., at the age of
5 years.
President Trump, he didn't say that, but that's another example. He will be proud to lead the nation. So he has not given up.
Apparently he hasn't.
He hasn't.
Yeah. And
he said he qualified though, he is not desperate to become president. So he may be prepared that even for eventualities like he missing out on it.
I think if Hussein seeks advice from me, I would rather ask him to step aside.
To step aside.
Yes,
are you not playing to the galleries of the Barrow agenda? Barrow proposal is still said.
Not at all. At any point in life, one must know when to leave the stage. It's better to leave this stage when you are still being cheered.
Than when you are
when
you are snubbed, like Jammedi.
So the right thing for Hussein to do now is to go and write a biography and go to his house. That's the right thing for him to do.
But is that not the argument of the people? Now listen, is that not the argument of the Barrow supporters in the UDP?
Not necessarily. Barrow may not be the ideal leadership to succeed.
So you agree with them that?
No, I do not agree with them that Barrow should
that Davos should rest and give it to Barrow.
No.
You don't agree with that?
I don't think Barrow has the right ideas to lead this country.
But you believe that you believe it's not a bad idea by Dabo to retire?
Yes, I think it's a good idea for Dabo to retire.
Then who then in the UDP if Barrow is not going to go?
There are an incredible number of people in UDP who can succeed.
Who are they? Perhaps people like Alaji Dabo? That's the one we had.
I mean, even the likes of Almame.
Almame funding perhaps.
There are others who are in the background who you and I
we may not know.
There are a lot of people. Imagine a party of hundreds of thousands of people.
Yeah,
run out of people who
but there are always
and also it's a national party. It's not like all the card-carrying members are only allowed to be the leader. You can apply to be the leader, presidential candidate. Any Gambian who owns a valid passport or ID card
and is a member of the party
to be the leader. It doesn't matter if you are a member.
Well, if you are a member of the party, you mean?
Yes.
No, you'll be kicked out because you would seem to be too.
Well, you may be kicked out, but you may be lucky. Remember when Sadauda became PPP leader, he was not a member of it.
No, he was
invited to become a member.
Exactly, and he laid his principles.
He was also invited to become a member and the leader.
Okay.
So,
but now today he's seen as the seen as the everything the party represents.
That's the idea. Now, when you are seen as everything, Mandela still controls. Mandela, even in the grave, still holds a lot of sway, a lot of influence on what happens in the ANC.
I know he lined up leadership. So.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chan. That was quite insightful. Now, Mustafa will take us through the Fatou website and tell us just few of one of the most, interesting stories on the website. Yeah,
sure. So I think. One thing that happened yesterday that had not been covered on the newspapers is the reported sacking of the, sacking qualified of the UDP National Assembly member, a nominated one for that but he's a member of the United Democratic Party executive. Kumba Jete, she's a woman I've come to know briefly. We've had few conversations at the National Assembly. Well, by Barrow again. So I mean, if confirmed, this is going to be the second in recent times of UDP people who are being. Okay, this news broke yesterday. Well, I spoke to her myself. And she confirmed. She told me that she had been told by KK Dafe, Keba Barrow, and that has been recalled. Him that the speaker actually told him. So it turns out it's true. So let's get this clear. She is among the 5 nominated members that's nominated by the president. Yes. So the president has recalled her nomination. Yes. And some legal-minded people are saying this is impossible. Well, if it is election, if she is elected, so that one is impossible. It's not possible. Well, it's not elected, but they say the idea is when you become a National Assembly member, when you become nominated, you automatically a National Assembly member. That is true. So you cannot fire a National Assembly member. That's what the legal persons are saying. So whether that is the case or that's not the case. But what it's telling is that this is a member of the UDP. Yes, an executive member. An executive member of the UDP. He is the head of the UDP female wing. So if this is confirmed, and from the sources you quoted now, there is no doubt that this is almost certainly true. Yeah. It now doesn't. It for me it looks like Barrow is still after. I mean, still settling scores after the UDP because first it was Almame who was PRO of the UDP. Yeah. And now this lady who is an executive member of the UDP. So and of course there are a lot of things that precedes that. So and there's Yusuf Acham. Yeah. Yusuf Acham also who is regional chairman of the UDP in West Coast, etc., etc. So it looks like President Barrow is targeting UDP members that I don't know whether he sees them as soft praise. I think so too. Soft praise. Yeah. Because if he is very determined to weed out UDP from his leadership, he probably knows where to start. Yeah. Or is he scared of that to move the vice president? He's more UDP than any other person. Yes, I think. So he's going for soft praise or soft praise. Or would you think he will have the most? When will he muster the courage to kick out the big ones? I don't think he ever will. I think the idea is, I mean, he has engaged in a lot of discussions, a lot of push and pull with Dabo. They were not confrontations. Yeah. And so you could see that I think what he intends to do, he doesn't want to be seen by the UDP followers to say, I Usainu Jamfal, so by sacking him. So what he intends to do is to pressure Usainu into resigning and his cabal of UDP followers into resigning from government. So if you can go after, if you can go after the grassroots and make him incredibly helpless, and make him. But he's got Yusuf Acham out. He's got Al-Mamital out. Those are acceptable laws. No, listen. And now this lady. Yes. So this. If you said the rationale is to get Usainu to go by himself, perhaps Usainu is also, you know, digging in, not trying to, I mean, playing the mind. He doesn't want to go unless he's asked to go. Yeah, but if then it goes, now it's not Barrow jamfaring him, it's not Barrow sacking him. So then Usainu is not going to, but Usainu knows this perhaps, and that's why he's not going. Well, I don't know, but how much more? UDP, it appears how much more acceptable loss? When will the untouchables be touched then? To get Usainu to go? I think Lamin Diba may be the untouchable. If he does that, Usainu will go for that one. If he touches Lamin, you believe Usainu will go? I am positive Usainu will go. Okay. So Barrow is... So if we still have time, of course, some other issues such as the... You've not talked about your GFF. Well, yes. I also mentioned that, and as well as the Senegalese election. So, yes, what happened with the Football Federation appeal? I've always known it's going to be difficult because of the way things work in CAF. It's going to be difficult. Now, what the GFF had said, and what I have said is a little bit confusing, because what they said was this Togolese player, the base of their first protest
You remember the protest was dismissed by the disciplinary board of CAF, and then they made an appeal. And if this appeal too has been dismissed, now the only option of for them now is to go to CAS, that is the Court of Arbitration for Sports, CAS. What the GFF is saying that this player who played on June the 12th in Togo for Togo national team is a Nigerian. This is what they based their protest on. And now the Togolese have been able to prove to CAF that the guy has never played for Nigeria and he has filled all the legal criteria to play for the national team of Togo. CAF disciplinary board agreed with them. But the GFF appealed to say that they believe the national papers of the player's mother, in two of the papers, the national paper and the passport, the mother's name was, given, one as Salimatu, the other one as Alimatu. That there's a suspicion in that, etc., etc. They still believe that the guy is a Nigerian. CAF wrote back to say the same reasons why the disciplinary board, dismissed your protest that he is a Nigerian is the same reasons you are telling us. So based on that, this thing have no substance. It's been dismissed now. So the guy is eligible Togo player, and now you have only one option to do, that is to go to the Court of Arbitration for Sports within 10 days of the day they gave the notice. So there's nothing the GFF can do now, only to go to the sports.
Wouldn't that be a waste of resources?
Absolutely, and from what I heard, this one, they have to get legal services, which is quite expensive, and they're still pursuing this thing. The implication is that if they get Togo to be expelled from the, because initially what they said was, okay, CAF said Togo admitted administrative error in the entering of the player's name. What brought the suspicion was, it's just like Mustafa. What does your K stand for?
Mine?
Your K.
Yeah, K. It's in the middle.
All right, but okay, this is James Adewale Olufade.
Yeah.
In another paper, he was dressed as Adewale Olufade. Yeah. James is not there. But the picture is the same, yeah. the nationality is the same, all other details.
It's as if you interchange my K Dabo with Mustafa.
Exactly.
K.
So now,
bit of a technical,
or you remove K there, or M there. But the identity is the same. So the GFF are saying that since Togo said, okay, this was a mistake, the rule says that if administrative error occurs, that team, it involved should be expelled. That's what the GFF said. But the base of their appeal, what I came across their appeal, actually is still focusing on the fact that the guy is a Nigerian, where, for which there is no substance. So what the GFF wanted to do was, if they get Togo expelled, all the teams that have points against Togo will first lose those points. And this would mean that no further match will be played in the group, because, the Togo would have expelled, they would have to meet Benin, right? The points against Algeria are going to be taken. Algeria will still remain safe. But if we play against Algeria, that can offset Togo, Benin. So there will be no match in the match. And if we stay like that, we will be second. And first, second automatically qualify. That's why they are dying to get it. Wow. But then, from the way things looked at, it appears
it doesn't want it.
It appears it doesn't go like that. So that was it. Yes, and then the Senegalese election, before we move on to our guest.
I am afraid we'll have to continue now.
The boss is saying,
well, the boss is no to Senegal. Time. Perhaps he supports Macky Sall. He doesn't want us to talk about it.
Now to one of my most, I always say it's the most exciting part for me, and that's the entrepreneur. So in this segment, what we do is we profile a Gambian who has set up a business for economic growth in creation for employment. So in this edition, we met a Gambian by name Joseph Arroyo, CEO of Baluo, who's making a name for himself in the e-commerce. Let's watch.
My name is Josep Arroyo. I'm based in Barcelona, Spain, where most of the Gambians abroad are. I come from the technology industry. I was in the software industry for more than 30 years, working in the States and in Europe. and I'm a serial entrepreneur. Well, our business is Baluo. It's a Mandinga name. It's a Mandinga word. So you know what Baluo means. Everything is about basic essentials, feeding, surviving. It's help. So Baluo is about helping people. This is what Baluo is about. So far, we started in June 2017. And so far, we have done more than 200,000 transactions. Today, we are doing more than 1,500 transactions in the 7 countries we are today. So we are growing weekly, and hopefully we multiply by 3 in 1 year time. Baluo is a bridge. It's a bridge between the diaspora and the locals living here. We are trying to help the diaspora when they help their families back home by offering, what they want, the best service, the best products for their families. We are today offering the chance to buy food directly over the network of partner stores we have in the country. All over the country, we have 175 food stores. So they can buy food for you, and you can get it immediately, right away, at a very convenient price for them. So we are giving them the chance to buy you cash power, so you can get in 1 second, you can get the PIN very easily. You can get the PIN for the cash power. You can also get mobile credit for all the companies at the very best rates. And finally, for those living abroad and building their home here, we can sell them also construction materials. We have a network of 75 stores selling building materials here all over the country. So these are the 4 services: food, construction materials, mobile credit, and cash power. Very soon, we will be offering also health services as well as pharmaceutical products. Well, I'm based in Barcelona, and I live and work with Gambians there, and I realized that they sometimes, they find some misunderstanding. There are some conflicts among the family members. And even the cost they pay when sending money is really amazing. So I decided to bridge a platform for them to help both parties. The ones living very hard there in Europe and the States, when they're helping their families, the locals living here in Gambia as well. So this is what inspired me. Try to help them. Try to build something that, eliminate any kind of conflict, any kind of misunderstanding, being real time, and at very, very, very efficient cost. Today, our team is over 25 people. We are working in 2 sites in Europe, and we have people in Barcelona, in Spain, France, Italy, UK, and the States, but also here in all the countries of we are. We are currently working in 7 countries, not only the Gambia. We have local support here, but also in Senegal, Mali, Ghana, Nigeria, Morocco, and Guinea-Bissau. So this is the team that we have, around 25 people. We work with regular workers, traditional people working in Europe and the States, willing to help their families, working very hard, willing to help their families. And in the other side, we are working also for the locals, the people living here in the Gambia. First of all, we would like to be in all the west region of Africa. We want to cover the remaining countries. We have planned for the remaining countries. But the reality is my goal. What we want to do is just extending our services to health services and pharmaceutical products, and being able to be very, very ubiquitous, being everywhere. And we would like to use our card, Baluo card, as a health card for everybody in Africa. So hopefully, inshallah, in 5 years, we are able to provide health services at a very efficient cost, very quickly, to all the Africans in the region. Here in the Gambia, we are delivering food products from over 175 stores and construction materials over 75. So you can find us there. We are also partnering with Iona with more than 50 outlets, and Easy Finance with more than 25 outlets. So you can find us all over the country. Plus, obviously, you can find us at internet, baluo.com. And for those outside of the country, also they can use our app. Baluo is in Google Play. So Baluo app is in the Google Play as well. They can contact us over the food stores we have in the country. They can contact us through the partners we have, and obviously through the website and the app. Baluo is in the Google Play. The challenges were related to the innovation, because when we started in June 2017, everything was new. It was new for the people in the diaspora, the people here, our partners, the stores. So everything was new. And we tried to overcome these challenges in two ways. In one way, having a very, very easy platform, very efficient, very easy to use, secure, and try to help you, using SMS and everything very easy and very efficient. And then we try to overcome this problem of adoption by having people talking to people and serving people. That's why we have local support in all the countries, not only here in Africa, but also in Europe and the States. So we try to overcome with the challenges of adopting something new by having people, telephone numbers open and talking to people, answer any question they had. And that's why we did in the very beginning, and that's what we are doing now. Yeah, the phone number we have here is 940-0213. 940-0213.
Welcome back from the entrepreneur. Now to the special edition of the special guest. Our guest today is Mr. Madi Jobarteh. Mr. Madi Jobarteh is the country representative for Westminster Minister Foundation and also a member of the coalition campaign to bring Jammeh to justice. And this is not his first time on the brunch. Mr. Madi Jobarteh, you're welcome to the brunch.
Thank you. But let me just say, I'm here entirely about a private citizen, particularly not representing in any way Westminster Foundation. So I'd rather leave that out of the show.
Thank you very much. So we will be focusing on talking about human rights, situation of the Gambia, and especially from where we have been to the new dispensation. What can you share with us?
Well, certainly the space for the exercise of human rights or enjoyment of human rights by Gambians is wide. That is, to a large extent, Gambians have been exercising their freedoms, expression, movement, association, assembly, with isolated cases of infringements. I recall the arrest of Babakar C. Sometime last year, some youths who were protesting the acquisition of land by Google Properties, in Manjai or Kulbi area, who were subjected to some arbitrary arrest. I also realized, the arrest of Dr. Ismail Assise, for merely giving an interview to a newspaper. And of course, there are instances where, I think Sidinjai or even Bakaro, Mamakando also were called by the police just for merely expressing their views. I consider that intimidation. And but despite that, largely, if you look at the press freedom indicators, Gambia moved 21 steps up, 2017. We've not had a media house closed down, and so apart from those cases, journalists largely, but no arson attack, no assault on a media house, even though we've seen the cases. Some of those things happened in the UDP press conference with Keba Jeffang, and also I think APRC. So those instances happen, which are all issues we need to really consider. And to say probably one of the first was the arrest of one Fatou Baji, and charged for sedition, for claiming that she insulted the president. So, but beyond that, largely we are enjoying the exercise of human rights, particularly civil and political rights. I wouldn't speak to, say the same for economic and social rights, given the situation at Faraba, which also reflects on civil and political rights. That is the right to freedom of assembly. Soldiers, armed police went to shoot and kill 3 people and injuring many. And of course, the incidences in Gunjur, where a number of youths have been subjected to, arbitrary arrest and detention for expressing their disagreement with the way Golden Lead is operating. So, but this is really a far cry from, what happened 2016 going down to 1994. So really, it's a huge enjoyment Gambians are having. Just that there's a concern that is, until today, draconian laws that limit human rights still remain in our books. Okay. So even though the Supreme Court ruled in November 2017 that false news on the internet, in relation to the Information Communications Act, and sedition in terms of citizens expressing themselves not relating to the president are unconstitutional, but then there's no legal reform to reflect that in the books, so all the other laws remain. The Public Order Act remains as it is, and in fact the Supreme Court said it's constitutional, amazingly, very disappointingly. In the criminal code, all the other laws remain there. Similarly, in terms of reform, institutional reform, still the same institutions operate. I've not seen any significant reform, whether in the NIA or the police or the prisons or the military, so that more or less the same leadership and rank and file remain in these institutions. You know, even with the idea of changing NIA to SIS, which in itself is illegal. You know, you cannot just proclaim I'm changing NIA to SIS, or I'm playing the Gambia Police Force to the Gambia Police Service without doing the necessary legal reform. You know, so where all these legal frameworks remain and all the institutions remain as they are where, the tendency therefore for the state to use these laws, and we have seen them, you know, bring these laws to charge people, then it means human rights is still under threat in the Gambia.
Right. That is a good overview. I want to chip in here. Now, the argument from the government in some of those few instances we said was that with the advent of democracy, many people misunderstood this to be, well, a free hand to do whatever you like, including, of course, doing illegal activities. Well, that's what one government official I had tried to justify it. For example, recording a video and insulting the person of the president, recording a video or audio and speaking spitefully about a tribe or an ethnic group, or taking the law into your hands and removing somebody's property, like some would say in the case of Gunjur, environmentalist, without recourse to law. So this government official was trying to say these are some of the issues that happen, and they are not necessarily being targeted because they acted with freedom, but they probably acted with unlawfully. What would you say?
Yeah, I mean, I hear folks make this kind of statement, and I really wonder what goes up in their heads, honestly.
Okay. Now, let's take Gunjur. If Gunjur youths objected to the operations of the Chinese company, which they said is destroying their environments, they went everywhere, they couldn't get any sense. They resorted to removing the pipes by force.
Yeah.
Are they acting lawfully?
We have to find out where did they remove the pipes, because those pipes, they did not enter the premises of the company.
Yeah, but the pipes, by extension, is the property of the company.
Yeah, but that pipes also were laid within the public space, which is the beach. Yeah. And in contravention...
I'm not holding brief for the government.
No, it's okay, you can hold brief for them, that's all right. I mean, you know, but they are in a public space, in contravention of the recommendations of the NEA. So that, and this is the beauty of democracy, that the rule of law, that human rights must be protected and must be backed by the rule of law. So that where the government fails to apply the rule of law, you therefore force citizens, individuals, to take the law into their own hands. So the democracy is not merely about citizens. It's about, first and foremost, the state to protect the rights that are specified in our constitution, and the state to act according to the rule of law. So that if we have a company like Golden Lead come to invest here, there is an environmental impact assessment, you know, by the NEA, and they bring recommendations, and if they have to build a plant, create facilities, those have to meet certain specifications. And if they don't meet those specifications, and which have been found in Gunjur, I mean, in fact, NEA had to take the company to court, and the company at one time was ordered to close, all because they are not meeting the requirements for their operation.
But then, what was the government agency that was to enforce those things?
Right. So if the government fails to enforce those things, and citizens realize that their lives, their livelihoods, their rights are directly threatened, people out of self-preservation will take measures to protect themselves. So you cannot turn around and blame the citizens when it is you, the government, in the first place, that have failed to act. You see. So that when we get to democracy, as I was trying to say, name one democratic society where people don't misconduct. Let's just assume, in fact, the people in Gunjur, those who they misconducted, they broke the law. Yes, this is why we have the courts, this is why we have the police, to enforce the law. So democracy is no different from any society in terms of the fact that citizens would break the law, and the law must take its course. And that is not just because citizens break the law, it's not a reason to therefore castigate or lambast democracy as the cause of all of what is happening. No.
No, but people's misconception.
Yeah, so that misconception you have to clear. You mentioned about freedom of expression, people insulting the president.
Or ethnic groups.
Or ethnic groups, yeah, we need to separate these two. You know, in some society, I mean, and that happens in any democracy. You go to Senegal, you go to Ghana, you'll find Senegalese, you know, on the radio, on the television, and in the various WhatsApp groups, speak very unpleasantly against the president or elected or appointed officials. And freedom of expression, people got to understand, freedom of expression is the right, the ability to express yourself, pleasant and unpleasant messages. It doesn't mean freedom of expression has to be only good, all right? But it can be unpleasant messages. Which is not to say we should promote the idea or the practice of individuals to insult anybody, especially the president or the vice president or so. No, I would not encourage that. But then if a citizen speaks very unpleasantly about the president, we also have to recognize that that citizen also has the right to express himself about elected officials. And that expression may be very unpleasant.
Even to use obscenities, absurdities, like...
because, you know, I mean, it's a difficult thing, because if you say obscenities, profanities, insult, the difficulty is, which is why we have insult laws, sometimes sedition laws in most African countries, which actually came out of colonialism, which was laws also in the UK or in Europe, you know, hundreds of years ago, because they don't want you to speak negatively, you know, in a contemptuous way against the king, the monarchy. But, you know, if you say the president, what the president says is a lie.
I think that's
fair
comment.
All right, to Lamin. But then to Mustafa, you cannot say it vehemently, you know, you cannot say the president is lying. All right, but if you also say even a more obscene remark against the president, most of us would condemn that also. But then when we allow a citizen to be arrested on account of that, we now get to a problem where we begin to find it difficult as to really, to criticize, not just to criticize, but what kind of criticism? Because you can go to, what is the minimum and what is the, say, maximum? So that in the end, we give therefore the state so much discretion to determine. Look at Fatou Badji, why she was arrested. Said Barrow was not a Muslim, or when she took the oath, did not, I think, swear on the Quran or something like that. I mean, for the state, that is an insult.
That's not.
You know, so this is the problem. I mean, look at the case of one, I think it was a Fourier reporter, I mean, or vendor or so, you know, who had said during Jammeh's days that paste his picture on the sky.
Yes.
Mars.
Yes.
On the Mars.
Right. And that is insult. So therefore the idea of insult is so vague, you know, and so I think that's also what people got to understand. If we want to build a peaceful, durable society, secure, safer society, we also have to be ready to understand, to prepare ourselves that there will be unpleasant situations like that. Like what Omar Toure, I think, in his audio. I mean, I vehemently detest that audio, what he said. But I would not really support anyone to arrest him. Okay. Because I think that is his right. What we can do, and I remember writing even about this, what we can do, or what we should do, is all of us to come out to condemn that kind of practice. And the political parties, because he was speaking on a political party platform, that party has to be held to account to discourage that kind of attitude from its members. But also all other parties should also come to condemn it. The state itself can issue to condemn that, you know, individual citizens like you and me. Because recall, in the US, in one of his State of the Union address, when Obama was speaking, a congressman came to said, "You lie."
Yeah, that's so.
Yeah, and he wasn't arrested, but his party and all other folks in America condemned him out to the point that he apologized. And that are also part of the self-regulation within democracy, which we also have to understand, and we should not be alarmed by that. But that now is a different matter when it comes to hate speech.
Yes.
Like the one Lysen did.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
That is criminal. All right? You cannot look at Lamin on account of your tribe or your gender or your disability or even your sexual orientation and say, you know, that Lamin is bad, therefore. You know, so that we make a separation, and even within the context of freedom of expression, hate speech is not guaranteed by freedom of expression.
Absolutely.
Because hate speech is speech that is directed, you know, at a person or a group on account of their status and, you know, generating violence. All right. And, but again, you will find some Democrats that have gone very far where even hate speech, they don't fully criminalize it, but then there are strong measures against it. Currently, if you follow the US, there is this governor in one of these states who in 1984 yearbook was said to have appeared in a blackface.
Yes.
In the context of America, a white man blackening his or her face
smoking
is a racist, you know, you try to enjoy the dignity, the rights of black people. And that is considered, you know, hate speech. You know, and while he wasn't arrested, but you can see the pressure mounting on him from inside his own party across America for him to resign.
Exactly.
You know, and maybe we've not reached to that level yet. But I have argued that Lysen should be prosecuted.
Yeah, and then there were people who said that was his freedom of speech. See, that's where the trouble is. That's where you cannot differentiate now.
No, you can't. Maybe if folks don't know what these things mean, of course, people would say things like that. But if you really understand,
they would say, okay, Lysen has been targeted because he's from the APRC. They would say, look, another guy in Sweden of the UDP said similar things against the APRC. Why did you prosecute it, etc. So
maybe it doesn't make Lysen right or that person right.
Constrained, you know, as to what to do with it. Then he came out with this general policy that, look, I mean, if you do this or say this, we clamp down on you and get you out of the way, so that nobody will do the same thing. So
I mean, hate speech for me really should be criminalized, and those who engage in hate speech should be prosecuted, even though we still need to exercise a huge amount of space to set the limit, you know, for hate speech.
It should be at a level where we all know generally, in the minds of every good people, this one is beyond the pale.
So we just have to be careful about that. But then, in terms of freedom of expression,
now let's talk about Dr. Cisse, for example. He touched a very sensitive area. I mean, his initial trouble with the police, the police or whatever. He said Barrow did not trust the security forces. He should trust his national security and economic, etc., etc. That was seen to be quite sensitive at the time. And you said that, or many people said that was his freedom of expression. So
definitely, I mean, I don't think it was sensitive, and the point he made then, I think remains a valid point. I mean,
but was he not politicizing? And members of the security forces said, or defense should
he made the point that the security of the Gambia would have to ultimately rest on Gambia's security forces.
Yes,
and that Barrow should not be thinking to rely on economic or foreign forces, but to rely on his security, our own national security system.
I think the offending phrase was he didn't trust them.
He didn't even say Barrow didn't trust them. He said Barrow needs to cultivate a culture of trust between him and the security. So not necessarily saying he did not trust them. And that's a valid point, because when you check
the fact that he didn't
that's what I'm coming to say. I mean, Barrow is the commander-in-chief. All right, we have a situation over the past 22 years, a military that's been hugely politicized, a military that has been utilized, you know, to harm, oppress, to harm our people. I mean, the TRRC is now showing all of that, So, and then we had this impasse, and of course the military were in the center of it, because ultimately the only reason Jammeh was ready to stand his ground, because he was going to rely on the military or armed group of some sort. So when we have foreign forces enter now, and to get him out and Barrow to come in as commander-in-chief, for me, the day I was sworn in, or the day I entered the Gambia, the next day I'm going to meet my troops as commander-in-chief to give them assurances, to connect with them, to express to them my vision, all right, my agenda, and to get to know their issues, their concerns, and how we work this. I'm so disappointed that Barrow did not do that. Even more disappointed that the CDS, did not insist, that the commander-in-chief comes to meet his troops.
Has he ever done?
He's never visited any barracks. I'm not aware. Yeah, and so I cannot really understand what is his thinking. Like, it's like 2 years. So when do you want to do this?
Maybe after security reforms.
A security reform that they are not interested in. There's no meaningful security reform taking place. They talk about it, but it is not happening.
Yeah, we'll come to that because to save time, we have outlined some of the red flags about human rights abuses of the past. Yeah. Now we're coming to save time to TRRC, and I'll get Mustafa to get you through what's happening in the TRRC.
If you look at the TRRC, I mean, you look at the violations that have been talked about. There are people who have been named as being perpetrators. We talked about institutions that are being involved and people in some of these life violations. What do you think the government should do? Gambians.
Well, first of all, as Gambians, I think we should support the TRRC process, which is necessary for us to do, because it comes within the broader framework of what is called transitional justice. And you see this happen in countries that underwent conflict, armed conflict, or that underwent authoritarian rule, like the Gambia. Because conflict and authoritarian rule, what they do is they damage institutions. They generate a lot of violence and violations. They politicize the entire society and state to the point that really, the state and the society itself becomes a risk to themselves. And so there's no democracy, there's no good governance. And so when a state or society went through conflict or authoritarian rule and you emerge out of it, it's logical that you do that self-examination to really get to understand how did we have authoritarian rule in the first place? How did we have conflict in the first place? Because people got to understand that authoritarian rule, that is what we experience. So we talked only about that. Authoritarian rule is not merely a dictator, one-man personalizing state institutions. There is practice, but there's also the law. And the law is, authoritarian rule is also backed by law. It's based on law. Because the authoritarian regime and the dictator, they transform laws or they produce laws to fit their purpose. So that when you look at the laws of the Gambia, the constitution, you will see in many places how so much power is handed to the president as opposed to the parliament, or or how limited rights are provided to the citizens, or how the ability of citizens to hold the government to account is being limited. All right, but at the same time, authoritarian rule also is a cultural issue, because it also exploits the social and the cultural fabric systems of that society. So imagine how Jammeh really subverted, abused and utilized our chieftaincy system, our traditional authority system, our religious system, just to make everything align with his narrative, with his objective. So when we now get out of that, it is important you do that self-examination so that you entangle all of those things that they have done and be able to now set up a better democratic society on a stronger foundation of good governance. So governments get to understand that, to realize that therefore the TRRC process, I talk to a lot of people and I see a lot of comments that it is not primarily, even though it's about exposing, getting the truth about the violation, human rights violations, but in the broader picture is that the TRRC is not really all about that. It's more about us understanding why did July 22 happen, and that question should not only be focused on the Gambia Army, on Jame, on Edward Singate, and the things that happened there on OJ. We got to understand how was PPP itself managing this country until 1994. In fact, how did we gain independence? So that when you begin to understand all of those, you realize therefore that 1994 was an inevitable occurrence that is going to come. You know, so that we now prepare ourselves so we don't get another 1994, 50 years, 100 years time, like some other countries did not. And then comes the never again part of it. Yeah. So on the part of the people, the citizens, I think this is how we should perceive the TRRC. Much as we get emotional and you know, about the testimonies that we hear and you know all of that, we also have to understand how could Edward do this? How could, you know, Sid, look at Sid Dabo, what he said. As a young soldier, you know, what they were told. And later they came to realize that that is not the case. Is it still happening today? Are young soldiers still today made to believe something by their superiors? And they act on that. And how was the PPP government at the time and other people, you know, outside of government, how are they influencing appointments into the army or the, you know, the things in the army? Is that happening still today? So the TRRC therefore should help us to understand, to diagnose why did 1994 come, but more important, as I said, how were we governing ourselves? So that, you know, going forward, at the end of the TRRC report, I hope we see very serious recommendations touching on our social issues. I believe our social-cultural setting needs to be addressed, because today we talk about gender, for example. Did gender play a part in the poor governance of the Gambia since independence? Did the caste system, feudalism, play a part, for example? You know, did religion and state, how do we manage this? So all of these are factors that I want to see serious recommendations, you know, as to social issues, cultural issues, religion, the state, the laws, the policies, I mean, public office, leadership, governance, so that, you know, with that report, it would enable us to restructure, reproduce, or produce a better society.
But you know, before we get to the report, TRRC, I was made to understand, would, unlike the commission, financial commission, would be issuing periodic reports. But if you look at, there is an aspect of the commission which touches on alleged violations of people who are still holding key positions in government. Now, what must the government do about this? So, for instance, Mr. Mohamed Baji mentioned to be present while November 11 execution to court is the leader, the focal person for national security reform. How do you go about this?
So we've not had Mr. Baji yet.
Well, he did came out in the press that he wasn't there. He wasn't there.
He was
a commissioner somewhere in the
in terms of perception as well. I mean,
I remember when I think it was Captain Ba testified, the one who taught OJ, and so he confessed to it. And my point is, since he confessed to it, I think he should be interdicted. The army, the CDS should say, look, Mr. Ba, given your own testimony, really, for the integrity, for the dignity, you know, for the public trust in the army, and so you will be excused, you know, to go on leave with salary or with no salary until the TRRC concludes. When they produce a report, the TRRC may say Mr. Ba is free, or they may say Mr. Ba is culpable, so he should be prosecuted for A, B, and D, and then, you know, that would determine eventually whether he continue in the army or not. So,
I think the same rule should apply to the security advisor.
Yeah, so the security advisor, because this is...
He did not appear himself. Yeah. I mean, the TRC reminded us or that people who have been named, adversely mentioned would be called to come. Yeah. So a statement would maybe yet he has not, nobody has had, although he said in the press.
Yeah, so he said it in the press, probably may not be enough, because there are a lot of questions that need to be asked. All right, so that's his opinion. But he needs to be before the TRRC eventually. And so on account of that, the president may come to the realization that, okay, let me interdict the national security advisor, or let me leave him there if, you know, his testimony is found to be credible or so. You know, but you know, when you look at all of this, it just tells you the bad footing on which the government started in the first place. You know, even before we got the TRRC, the government should have been able to know the culpability of certain individuals, the involvement of certain individuals, and so to make sure in forming their government, in giving people positions, you don't give to individuals that have that kind of a dubious character.
Probably having SIS or whatever intelligence to vet every potential.
And worry people. Let me observe. Mustafa, it pains me if I hear citizens say SIS, because you are perpetuating abuse of our laws. There's no SIS.
It's true. I struggle to say SIS. I always said NIA.
Look, it's NIA. Let us not join anyone who wants to subvert our laws, the rule of law in this country. NIA is NIA. It's not SIS. So we draw that and we move on. All right?
Always.
I mean, this is SIS. I mean, it's NIA.
I struggle to get SIS. I always say
in the parliament.
No, this is not about the parliament. This is about you as a citizen, as a sovereign citizen, who the Constitution, Section 1, subsection 2, says the sovereignty of the Gambia resides in the people of the Gambia. And all organs of the state derive their legitimacy and authority from the people. So NIA is NIA based on our authority. We give it legitimacy. And if we want to change it to ABC or XYZ, go through a process that reflects our authority and our legitimacy, and that is to the parliament.
Let's talk about SIS.
They haven't done that. So NIA, okay.
NIA,
whatever the name is, this place has been named as Center Epic Center for all the human rights.
So me, I have said well before Barrow took office, early December 2016, 20 January, that the NIA should have been closed. Okay, the NIA should have been closed. All staffs, interdicted. I mean, sent home, and they put under some kind of review by the government itself. Look at operations. Look at what's happening. Preserve what is there. Because the government knows that a TRRC would come eventually, that investigations will have to take place. So the fact that the government, this government, refused to close down the NIA, and more disappointingly, to maintain the same leadership and rank and file. You understand? And then to allow that leadership to get funds from anywhere they got it from, to engage in the demolition and the construction of buildings, for me is the height of irresponsibility and a direct threat to national security. Particularly when in May 2017, Momodu Baji, or Babkar Baji, the legal advisor to the NIA, wrote a letter to the president to highlight the very issues that are coming up today. And the president not only ignoring that letter, but allowing that Baji to be harassed.
Okay, so no, whatever.
And then tellingly, perhaps maybe the director of NIA, you said you don't want to call it a SIS, but the director actually had said that he had no, he was not thinking that the renovations or whatever
for me,
have any impact on everything.
For me, when the TRRC went to NIA, the conversation between them and the DG, and particularly the statement that came from the lead counsel, SRFAL, that knowing what is to come and deliberately destroying this, I had said at that very point, then that is an indictment, a charge already. Yeah. The DG of NIA he knows very well.
Yeah, he knows that.
He knows that what he did was a conscious attempt to wipe out evidence.
Yeah.
I mean, he's very much aware of that. So for me, all what he said at that meeting with NRA is lies. And for me, I am shocked. It's now 7 days or so since that meeting that the president has not interdicted the Director General of NIA.
And even to give an update, the NIA went there subsequently, lock up an office at TRRC, and seized documents.
Yeah, and I would have wished really the NIA, because when I read the story in the media, they said they took documents and closed at least one office. I would have loved to see the NIA close the entire facility down.
Do you think that place is a crime scene?
100%. It's the leading crime scene only next to Mile 2.
But
in the Gambia.
The irony of it being at the center between the justice.
Yeah, and that's the irony beautifully expressed by the president of the Bar Association. Yeah, we cannot have the NIA is an insult to us. Like GPMB, this is the toil, of our, not just the farmers, but our fathers and mothers, really. For years, you transform that to become the torture chamber of the children of those farmers.
Absolutely.
This is the height of hypocrisy of, I cannot just imagine. And then next to the Ministry of Justice, and then directly opposite the Supreme Court, which is created purposely to uphold fundamental rights and freedoms and to ensure governments enjoy justice.
Absolutely.
No, it's a shame.
Joy.
Go ahead.
Okay.
So, because I want us to deal with, we are seeing a lot of things coming out of the TRRC, and then ultimately the TRRC is going to recommend probably in the end the prosecution of some people, but there will be amnesties as well. I mean, of course, little is being talked about in terms of what sort of a crime should TRRC give amnesty for. I mean, in your view, how should TRRC grant its amnesty? Should it be granted to people who are known to have been involved in torture?
No, there are certain crimes. You cannot get amnesty for that. Because these are international crimes. These are crimes that border on violations of rights that are considered non-derogable. Rights that under no circumstance should you violate it. For example, right to life. Under no circumstance should anyone have the right to take human life.
Absolutely.
Especially arbitrarily, like how it was done here. No one has the right under any circumstance to torture another human being. No one has the right, authority, under any circumstance to make a fellow human being disappear. No one has the right to rape. You understand? No one has the right to force somebody into slavery. These are rights that are considered non-derogable. They cannot be damaged, destroyed, limited in any way. These are rights that they call absolute rights. You enjoy that. Absolutely. Freedom of expression is not absolute. Freedom of assembly is not absolute. But the right not to be tortured is absolute. You cannot torture me under no circumstance. Even if I take, Mustafa and put it on this and chop you into pieces, Lamin still cannot torture me because I have killed a human being or tortured a human being. This is how it is. So, I don't want to, because me, I'm fully behind the TRRC. I support the TRRC, and I want to give them all the space to do their work, and I'm so far so satisfied. And I have so much confidence in the commissioners and the legal team that I really, if there's one institution in the Gambia for which I can go to bed and sleep so far, is the TRRC. So I don't want to say or do anything that is going to cast any doubt about them.
Yeah.
But, I trust the judgment of Council Fall and his team.
Yeah.
I trust the judgment of the chair, Dr. Sise, and his team.
Mm-hmm.
And I know they know the law far more than me.
Absolutely.
They know human rights Fatou more than me.
Absolutely.
And so when we get to the point where they are gonna make decisions in terms of amnesties and other things, certainly, I have no doubts they will take the right decision. But as I said, I know there are certain crimes you cannot get amnesty for that.
Absolutely. But that's even in there, Monday.
So we would have it in here.
Thank you very much, Mr. Madi Jobarteh, for, of course, always answering to our call anytime we knock on your door. And still reminding our viewers that this is the brunch here on Kerr Fatou with me, Joy Wama. And next is Hotspot. And Hotspot for the week would be Y Cafe Bar and Restaurant located at MDI Carnifin. Let's watch.
Tuda Michelle Jara and my assistant Auntie Michelle Jara Njai. I am the manager and the assistant to the kitchen because I'm a cook. We offer so many services, but just to start with few of the things that we do here is we do have breakfast and lunch and dinner. And then there's a menu. On the menu for the breakfast, we do have English breakfast. We have chicken sandwich. We also have omelette. And we do shrimp sandwich. So depending on the customers, what they want, we go by it. So for lunch, we do have, on Mondays, we have benachin. It can be fish, or it can be beef or chicken. So we go by the customer demands. And then lunch, we always have chicken and chips, grilled fish and chips. We have cow food. We have chicken wings, spicy chicken wings. But depend on the customers how spicy they want it, and very tasty. We are the best in the Gambia for snacks because we do all types of snacks. We do the spring rolls, sausage rolls, we do meat pies and fish pies. So anything you want on snacks, we can offer it. And when you come to Soul Milk Y Cafe, we give you the best snacks you ever want, and then we assure you that you have the best and great snacks. About Soul Milk Y Cafe, it's so unique. What I can say is, for our lunch, you know, lu gaay dee wax rek Banjul demba yéen ay monde nga dem sa kër wàcca liggéey nga am monde benn cin bu neex a neex su la neexee nga def jën bu weex ñu roof ko bu la neexee nga def ceebi yàppa soo ñëwee fii di nga ko am. Tuesday soo ñëwee ñu tegal la plate yaasa bu neex soo lekkee tey yaasa ganaar next week nga lekk yaasa jën xam nga dafa neex yéen yaa ngi liggéey ba soona mënuloo ñëw tooga soo daxantoo Y Cafe Wednesday ñu tegal la plate yi domoda ak findi soo bëggutee findi nga def couscous wala maalo. Thursday ñu jox la plaças façon plaças boo xalaat dañ ko dee def dinañ def xobi ñaambi dinañ def xobi green. And then Friday ñu am baxal ak fried rice. And then Saturday dañ dee def super kanja soo bëggee fufu soo bëggee maalo. So Sunday ñu am buffet bi dafay start from 12:30 ba 3 o'clock pour 150 nga am buffet bu neex ba pare ñu am Newton stew nag ñu bari duñ ko xam waaye comme cuy yàppa ba pare ñu jaxase ko ak yàppi mbaam so suñ mbokki christian yi ñu bari suñ wàccee church dimanche mun nañoo doxantu fii dinañ am luñ bugga MDI Road at YMCA building. We're just next to YMCA building. After the hostel, you have the restaurant next to it. Wow, Kanifin. Ñun suñ business number bi mun nga ñoo call fii si Y Café si 438-2700. 438-2700. So ñu callee anytime di nga ñu am cause dañ dee liggéey from 8 to 12 si guddi. So anytime boo ñu soxlee rek di nga ñu mën a am. Because then they have catering, outside catering for weddings and all sorts of events. So you can contact us anytime. Y Cafe is the hottest spot in town.
Y Cafe Bar and Restaurant is definitely the place to be. Now we have come to the end of this exciting edition of the Brunch Show here on Kerr Fatou. But before we take a leave of you, we'll allow our guest, of course our special guest, Mr. Madi Jobarteh, to give us his final words before we take a leave.
What I would say is for Gambians to realize that democracy is not a football match. Like you go to the stadium to watch. That citizens are not spectators in a democracy. Citizens are the players. And so we're not going to get democracy, good governance, and the protection, the respect and protection of our rights. And here when we say rights, we're not just talking about freedom of expression, freedom of assembly, but it's also about our right to quality health care, to education, you know, to good roads, to electricity, our right to development. We're not going to attain it so long as our citizens decide to be spectators. Particularly at this time, 54 years after independence, this government we have right now has taken multiple steps, directly infringing on our constitution, directly threatening our sovereignty, directly harming our rights. And if any time a government is in doubt as to where you should stand for your country, it is today. This current action by the president to sack a member of the National Assembly is an impeachable act, it's an unconstitutional act, and you know, no government should allow it. If it needs us to occupy Banjul, we should right now, because it's a direct affront to our sovereignty as citizens of this country. Not to mention the many acts of violation of our constitution that this government has taken so far. All right, And I'm saying this because this government is the government in place today. And so let governments realize that after we talk here, we write on Facebook, we complain, let us stand up, because democracy is not produced out of State House, out of the parliament. That is not just for Gambia, for America, for the West, for anywhere in the world. Democracy is delivered by the people, provided the people become actors, going out in the streets, going to the courts, writing, speaking out, and so on and so forth. So this is what will bring democracy to the Gambia, like it has brought democracy to all other countries of the world, where democracy really is. All right. So my final word really is about that Gambians to stand up, to speak out, to stop complaining in our homes and offices and so on, but to really speak to the very issues that are happening, to check government, the executive particularly, because an unchecked executive generates abuse, violations, and we have seen that. And when those violations, abuse fester, continue, persist, it's what creates impunity. And that impunity is what generates an environment of tyranny. And that is what we saw with Yahya Jammeh. He can take actions, he can make decisions, and we let it go. Eventually, it became a practice. It became a culture that in the end, even to fight against those actions, it was at the cost of our lives. So we will be fools, really, if we sit here to imagine that another Gambian cannot come and be even worse than Yahya Jammeh.
Good.
It can happen.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lamincha.
Yeah, I think those are thoughtful words, and I look forward to a very exciting week, a coming one. So that when we come back on Saturday, we will have even more interesting stories to tell.
It will be exciting because the TRRC is going deeper into November
11th, and the more it goes there.
So next week will be very exciting.
Thank you very much to you, our viewers. Have always been with us all through the inception of the show, and we wish you the very best of the week. Bye.
Dreaming of owning a property in a prime location with great proximity and fantastic neighborhood? EJ Investments Sanyang Seaview Estate is the best choice you have been waiting for. Our Sanyang Seaview Estate is approximately 15 minutes drive away from the busy hub of Brusubi roundabout and into the heart of nature, where you can have a peaceful and relaxed lifestyle with your family. You can buy a finished 4-bedroom story with 5-year flexible payment plan or a service plot with 2-year payment plan option. With over 300 homes, you will enjoy big tar roads with covered drainage, modern electrification with solar street lights, gated entrance with security post, and a breath-catching experience of our beautiful sea view and lake view. You can own a home today at our Sanyang Seaview Estate. Call us today on 446-4838 or 325-9220. Visit our website on ejinvestments.net. EJ Investments, first in property.